Well, hey everybody. Welcome to the First Million Words podcast. I'm Ben.
And I'm Guillermo.
And today we have our special interview with author Rachel Aaron, author of the Legend of Eli Monpress series, with a few other books that are tentatively coming out pretty soon. May have some spoilers there.
Well, I don't know. By the time this airs, I think it will have... it'll be a few weeks before it comes out.
Maybe.
Maybe a day.
I don't know. I have to.
Perhaps minutes.
Yeah, perhaps minutes. Who knows? That's the magic of internet radio. That's what I'm going to call this. Internet radio.
Or maybe if you're, I don't know. Maybe if you're some alien and you intercepted this, and thousands of years in the future, as it floated through space, in, I guess, one of those little capsules that we're gonna like the whole shooting Kal-El into space thing. I'm pretty sure that's gonna happen.
Yeah, and hopefully he'll be listening to our show.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So by the time he gets to Earth, by the time he gets to Earth, he'll know a lot of stupid pop culture references from us, and some really good writing advice from our authors that we interview.
He's like, "What's a book?"
What is trolling? Yeah, that's what we talk about. What is World of Warcraft, and why do they hate it and love it so much?
It's like both love it and hate it. Well, it's kind of a nerd thing, isn't it?
It is. So, Rachel Aaron, the interview went, long enough to make a whole episode, so there's not going to be a segment at the end where Guillermo and I rant about nothing and bore you to death. So we're going to get into it. And also, there was a little bit of a snafu when we were recording. The call dropped. And we had to call Rachel Bach and figure out some stuff. So it might sound a little choppy at around the 20-minute mark or so, but then it's all smooth sailing from there. Now tell me, Guillermo, because you've finished the book. I haven't completely finished Rachel's book yet. So give me your quick review. We have a few minutes until we start the interview.
Okay, quick review. Good characters, good story. You actually really care about the characters, even the ones that are sort of bad guys. Kind of understand like where they're coming from.
Nice.
And it's like the thing is, you think that everything is over, and you think, oh, I think I know where this is going, and then you're completely surprised. So
nice.
I really loved this book.
Now let me ask, with the first book. The Spirit Thief, it's the first of a series, and it's going to be about 5 books, I think, by the end of this year, plus a novella. Does the first book, The Spirit Thief, does it end on like a major cliffhanger, like you have to read the second one, or is it a good standalone that leads to you wanting to read the second one?
Well, it's the latter. It's a really great standalone story. But the thing is, it's like when you finish reading it, you just want to read more. Like, I honestly, that's one of those types of books that you read it and you can't put it down. And then at the very end, it's a good ending point, and you think, okay, if it ended here, it would be great. But there's another one, and it jumps right into it. So I'm actually halfway through the second book, and it's actually coming out great. She expands on her world, expands on the magic system. Other things that she went over, which she's actually very good at. She's very good at setting things up and then bringing everything full circle later on, so that it makes for a really great story. So
nice.
I am digging this series, and I think I might have the Dresden Files syndrome with this, where I'm just going to go from one to the other. And then if I'm not done by the time the next book, the last book is written, I'm going to have a weird conniption fit where I need to know.
I have to know how it ends.
Oh, yeah, I'll be calling her back. Be like, so what happens? What happens to Jin? Because he's no.
Oh yeah, the big
the big hound,
like a luck.
Spirit.
I always think of him as looking like the Luck Dragon from Neverending Story.
Oh, okay.
Falcor, yeah.
I picture him looking like my dog.
Yes. Well, he looks kind of like Falcor.
Well, not Baron.
Yeah. So we kind of mentioned this during the interview, but there's Rachel Aaron's website is rachelaaron.net. and you can read her blog there, Pretentious Title, which is the greatest name for a blog ever, is Pretentious Title. And there's right now out is the omnibus of the first 3 books, The Legend of Eli Monpress, and that includes The Spirit Thief, The Spirit Rebellion, and The Spirit Eater. And also out just from a few days ago, about 5 days ago, was The Spirit War, which is the 4th book. And then coming in November 20th is book 5, which is Spirit's End, which I guess apparently makes it sound like it's going to be the end of the series. But don't worry, there's also a novella that takes place before, like 4 years before the first book, called Spirit's Oath. And I would recommend reading that one after you've read the first few books, because prequels always work better like that, I think.
I agree, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's one of those books that you're going to buy The Spirit Thief, and you're going to know that there's other books, and you're going to be like, okay, well, I'm only going to just get this first one. If I'm not into it, then I can drop it off here. Like, no, you're going to get the first one, and then you're going to get the omnibus.
Yeah.
Because you're going to want to read this book. And I'm not just saying that because we're interviewing her.
Yeah.
In fact, I mean, it's like, I don't give my hearty thumbs up to a lot of things, but I do give my hearty thumbs up to this. I love her characters. You really care about them. The story is very well thought out and very well planned, and the way it's constructed, everything just seems to fall into place at just the right time to make everything interesting. So I am really digging these books.
Nice. I look forward to finishing the series too. So go out, take a look at Rachel Aaron's work, and we will be interviewing her for the next 4 episodes, this one included. And we'll have our general interview with her right now. And then the next 3 weeks following will be on different writing topics that you'll hear about when we get to those episodes. So enjoy the show, and we'll talk to you next week. Until then, write. The first million words. That's your cue, Guillermo.
Oh, which episode is this?
11.
Episode 11, an interview with Rachel Aaron.
Nice.
Broke it. Knew it.
Yeah, hold on. Technical issues. Hold on.
That's fine.
Wait, is it? Do I sound like a chipmunk on your end?
No, you sound fine to me.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
know, maybe you sound like a chipmunk in real life. And
Yeah. Right now, I'm speaking with my big boy voice. Oh, I'm so sorry. Hold on, one moment.
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, Guillermo says things like one moment because he works in customer service normally. So.
Yeah.
Well, this isn't going to be like
Okay,
actual
yeah,
customer
and-
service where
and
one moment
I
means
got it.
5 years, right?
No. One moment is let me put you on hold while I scream and and pray for death.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
I
so,
actually used to work customer service back in the day for a mail-order clothing company that sold to old people.
Oh no.
Oh, that's like combining the best of both of our jobs, because I do overnight security, like as my day job, well, night job, overnight security at a retirement home. And I actually that's where I get most of my writing done, is from there, because I'm there, like I work a 12.5-hour shift and then a 15-hour shift and then a like an 8-hour shift back to back. Well, not back to back, but yeah, anyway, I get all my writing is done while I'm at work, waiting to get a page that somebody needs a hand off the toilet.
So yeah, if this podcasting doesn't take off and if the writing doesn't take off, yeah,
You've always
that's
got
our
that.
fate.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's our fate.
I have a very specific set of skills.
You pull people off toilets.
Yes.
I'm
Well,
exceptionally good
everyone
at.
needs something they can fall back on.
I'm just like, I am good at getting yelled at, so it works out.
You know, being good at getting yelled at is also an excellent life skill for an author.
Really? Oh, I've heard the in another interview, we were informed of literary trolls, which I didn't know existed, but apparently they do, and yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. Like, if you yell at me because I'm working for the company, it's one thing. It's another thing to like yell at me. It's like, your characters are not developed well. Shut up.
Fortunately, everyone I've ever met has been amazingly nice. Like,
Oh.
everyone I've met in publishing has been fantastically nice. Even the people who said bad things about me were very nice about it.
So they said bad things in a nice way.
Yeah, well, I tried to build up this persona of being very helpful and very nice, and so people are... I'm trying to be the puppy no one wants to kick, you know?
Yeah. Good strategy. I think we have a whole topic just on that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of levels of guile right there.
So Rachel, I picked up the big kind of omnibus.
My
Omnibus.
phone book.
Yeah. Yeah, and I regretfully I haven't finished it yet, but I am enjoying it quite a lot so far.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
It's a lot of fun. It took me like the first couple of chapters because I'm not used to it's in third person omniscient.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not used to that. So I was reading along and I was like, "Oh, look at all these POV violations." And then it's in third person omniscient.
It jumps around, yeah.
Yeah.
And funny enough, the novel I just finished, well, the novels I have just sold to Orbit. I sold a new series, Sci-fi series, and they're all first person in the head of a woman who perhaps is not the most trustworthy narrator.
Oh, I like that.
And and so rather she thinks she's right all the time, but she's perhaps not always right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very big jump to what I have to, because I just finished my final line edits for Spirit's End, which is the 5th book, and so I had to jump from this extremely personal, extremely in-your-face first-person style back to that kind of very detached third-person emotion, that's sort of looking down, and it was a weird jump. It was
I
a very
bet.
strange jump.
Yeah, was that like a conscious, before you started writing the Eli Monpress books, did you say, "Oh, I'm going to write this in third person omniscient," or did that just kind of come naturally?
Honestly, I've never made a conscious choice about how I'm going to write a book, about what tense or person I'm going to write a book in.
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely chosen the wrong one and had to go back and change it. Like, as I said, for the sci-fi novel, which I just which I finished and sold, I originally wrote it in third person, just like Eli, because that's what I wrote.
Yeah.
And I got about 4 chapters in, and I said, "This is terrible. This is totally not the way this story needs to be told." And then I went back and went into first person, which I've never thought about writing in. Which I'd never really had a preference, but I'd never thought of myself as a first person writer.
Mm-hmm.
But it had to be first person, and that was totally the way to do it.
That's how I started out, was first person. Like, everything I ever wrote was in first person, and because I kind of grew up when I was like a teen reading Chuck Palahniuk.
Mm-hmm.
So I just, like, everything. I was like, oh, it has to be first person and gritty and kind of weird. But yeah, lately I found myself making that jump to writing in third person. But now the sci-fi thing you said you just sold to Orbit. Can we have a name of that yet, or is that?
It's tentatively titled Fortune's Pawn, but I'm actually probably going to be writing it under a different name. So, actually, this is going to go in the interview. I don't actually know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet.
Okay. Well, this this won't air until
I
June.
I don't know.
Okay. Well, this won't air until like early June. So if there's a problem, I can edit it out between now and then.
Yeah, I would really say that I can't see why it would be a problem, because the name change idea was because, again, the books are so different from the Eli series.
Yeah.
They're science fiction. There's a very strong love story. I wouldn't say it's a romance, but it's a very strong love story, and the main heroine is this very aggressive female mercenary. Hyper aggressive, and she's a lot of fun to write. But if you went in expecting more talking doors, this is not going to be the book, So Orbit decided to rebrand me under a different name, and I'm probably going to be writing that under Rachel Bach, which is my married name.
Oh, okay.
So
That's cool. Any well, you just sold it. Does that mean you have already written a draft of it, or is that still in the works?
Oh no! What I did was I'm a very fast writer.
Yeah.
And so what I did was, while I was sort of waiting for all the stuff from Eli to come out, I just wrote this book. This was actually the book I wrote in 12 days. And the first one's called Fortune's Pawn, as I said, tentatively. You know, they might choose to change the title. Mm-hmm. I wrote it in 12 days, and I thought it was the best thing I'd ever written. I mean, I thought this book, like, walked on water, and which is a very different feeling for me than normally the end of books, because normally when I end my book, I have this weird love-hate relationship with it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so tired of it, and I hate it, and never want to look at its ugly face again, and then I kind of come back around. But with Fortune's Pawn, I was in love with this book. I was just so in love with it. I thought it was amazing. And I sent it to my agent, and I was like, you know, she's going to call me back. She's going to tell me, oh, Rachel, it's perfect. We're going to sell it for $1 million. You know, I was on the moon. And my agent writes back, this is pretty good. And I'm like, you're crazy.
Oh.
Never change this. And then I started reading it, and I'm like, well, that makes sense. I guess I could see that. And finally I came around. I made the changes she wanted. And then she sent it to Davey, my editor at Orbit, and who was amazing. And Davey said, oh, my God, I love it. And she really went to bat for me at Orbit to get this book sold, and I was really happy. Really, really, I love her so much. But they made an offer on it, and then she's like, but I've got all these changes. And I'm actually still making changes on this book. I've probably rewritten Fortune's Pawn about 7 times. It's completely ridiculous. But every rewrite is something it really did need. And I wouldn't say that I had to do all the rewrites because I wrote the book so quickly. Mm-hmm. I had to do all the rewrites because the way I planned out the book was not actually the best way to tell the story. And I would have made that same mistake if I'd taken 12 days or 6 months. So
that was just more like a matter of, did you just have to, like, flip scenes around with each other, like swap a scene, or? It was more a matter of there's a lot of information going on in the background, because as I said, it's first person, very narrow view, with, quite frankly, a narrator who has very prejudiced opinions about people around her. And I had to convey this large mystery that was going on through a first-person perspective who was perhaps not the most observant. And so my mystery was getting lost, and I had to bring the mystery in better and really hook it in, because I had all these hooks that were too small. And so people were like, I don't understand what's going on. And they loved all the battle scenes and all that stuff, but I had to really bring the mystery in more, and I actually had basically tone both down and up the romance. So there's a lot of fiddling. Yeah, sounds like it. That's the kind of Guillermo wrote something that sounds a little similar, where he basically had a warlock that was just very full of himself and had no idea what was going on around him, and he kind of had to solve that unreliable narrator thing by throwing in a second narrator, because there was a goblin companion that the warlock had, and he would make little annotations to what the warlock was saying, and I thought that was kind of fun. That actually sounds pretty awesome. It sounds pretty funny.
Well, I don't know. Some people like it, and other people are like, I'm confused. I'm like, well, no, the italic ones with the smaller, that's the goblin. What? I don't get it. I'm like, Well, that's always the thing. It's never going to be. You're never going to please all the people all the time with your writing, and this is actually something that I hear a lot. People are like, I did this, and then my mom didn't get it, so I put it away. And I'm like, that is the absolute wrong response. Yeah. If you're, if you write something and no one is getting it, then you might have a problem. But there's stuff that I think is amazing that other people hate, and there's stuff that other people praise to the sky, and I think is stupid beyond belief. And I mean, that's why there are so many books, because so many people want so many different things out of their books. So I would say the only warning sign about stuff like that is if everyone isn't getting it. Oh, okay. That hasn't that hasn't been the case so far, but okay. There's hope yet for that book that's right now kind of on on the table, not yet finished, but that's okay. But it took you, I mean, well, you managed to finish the novel in 12 days. I mean, granted, it wasn't the final draft, but how do you get a word count like that in such a short amount of time?
Well, I wrote my big blog post on this, which is how I went from 2,000 words a day to 10,000 words a day. And I wrote a 90,000 word novel in 12 days, and that's less than 10,000 words a day, but I had days where I had 12,000 words that I wrote. And I hope you put a link to the blog post. I'm not going to go into everything in detail.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah. But basically it comes down to, while I was writing the fifth Eli novel, I was under a very heavy deadline. The fourth Eli novel, rather. I was under a very heavy deadline. And I was way behind because I just had a baby. You know, I didn't have a lot of time. I was used to having all of this time to sort of luxuriate and put things off and do other stuff. And I didn't have that time anymore because my baby was taking all my time, and I still had a deadline. So I had to get really serious about the writing time that I did have. And so I was like, I have to get more efficient. So I play a lot of video games. You know, I'm a pretty numbers-based person, so I started keeping track of what I was doing to try and find ways to make things more efficient. And I started keeping a record of all the writing I did and when I wrote and how much I would write in each session. And one thing, just keeping a record, I've found, makes me write more. If I just keep a record, even if I don't do anything with it, I write more while I'm keeping the record. Sort of like how if you're weighing yourself, you start to lose weight because you're thinking about it in your subconscious. And sort of like, not everyone does that, of course, but sort of like that. And so from keeping these records that I was keeping, I started realizing a couple of things. And one was that I wrote way better in the afternoons. So that was clearly my writing time. I wrote much better when I was out of the house. So if I wanted to, instantly I cut my word count just writing in the afternoon out of the house. And that was just a stupid location change that upped my word count. And I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't been keeping records. But the real sort of wake-up call for me was the idea of writing out what happens before you write a scene.
You know what? Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
Oh, we can. I was going to kind of hold off on that so we can, and focus on it a little more in depth and do a whole episode over it. So I'd hate to get you off the train.
Oh no,
of
that's
thought,
fine.
but we can just push it back a few minutes.
Certainly.
Okay.
But yeah, Ben, if anyone knows about the baby changing the writing schedule, it would definitely be Ben.
Oh, yeah, I had a very similar experience, which is the reason we put this interview off maybe a couple times. Was I was waiting for last week. I was waiting for Grandma to show up and get my son. But she never showed up because she was sick. So I ended up I took him to his very first Mommy and Me gymnastics class.
Aww.
Which was adorable. But yeah, I'll see if your experience is similar because you have a little boy too, right?
I have a 2-year-old. Yeah, a 2-year-old little boy named Nate.
Aw, yeah, mine. Well, at the time that we're recording this, he's 21 months old, and yeah, his name's Will, and he's a madman. So
they start really moving.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
they're just everywhere.
Yeah, I actually had, my mom kept saying like, "Oh, you were a really hyper kid," so that's going to be what you get as another hyper kid. And I actually got confirmed by my mother a few weeks ago that Will is twice as bad as I ever was. I mean, he's a good kid, but he's just crazy. And I'll try to write sometimes. And, of course, when I sit in front of the keyboard and try writing, he's just, oh, that's my keyboard. Let's type with Daddy,
Yeah. And that's another reason I try to write out of the house is because if I'm in the house while my baby is home, it doesn't matter if his father is paying 100% of his attention to Nate. Nate wants to be where I am.
Oh, yeah.
And because he just wants to be with whoever is not paying attention to him.
Exactly.
The moment I start paying attention to him, he wants to get a daddy. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But,
like it's the same thing with us. Yeah, if my wife if she's, at the computer, and I'm sitting with Will on the couch watching, Handy Manny or whatever, he'll want to be, next to her because she's doing something that's not, paying direct attention to him.
Exactly. And honestly, a lot of writers I know, professional writers, are also stay-at-home parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not understand how on earth they do that, because I would get nothing done if I was like, my son is in daycare, and this was a very like agonized over decision that we made. There was no way I was going to make any of my deadlines, even writing as fast as I do, if I had to also look after the kid.
Yeah.
And this is a very important time in my career, and I would say when you're writing, the beginning of your career is one of the most important times, because you're establishing yourself, you're trying to get your name out there, and it's very important to really treat your writing time as work. You are working. Even if you haven't sold a novel yet, if you want to make writing your career, when you're writing, you are working. And that's time that should be treated as if you were under the thumb of a boss. Like, you wouldn't call your wife at work and be like, hey, honey, come over and do this. So you wouldn't call your writer at work and say, come do this, because they are working. And a lot of people think of writers as, oh, they're sitting at their computer and I can just bug them.
Yeah. And
that's not at all true. Like, it's so terrible when you're in the middle of a scene and you're really going and you've really got the vibe, and then someone interrupts you.
Yeah, that's
Murder has almost occurred.
Yeah.
When that happened.
Yeah, I've actually swapped my my schedule around, because I do the stay at home with my son thing, and my wife, she works more or less 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I have the weekend job. So I'll get a lot of writing done on the weekends, but I've just started waiting until the wife and kid are in bed, and I'll just sit at the computer and get like 2.5 hours of writing time, and I'll just squeeze in whatever time I can. But that's how I do it. But it's really hard to be sitting in front of the computer, everybody's asleep, and I'm like, oh, I could go on the internet and look up stupid memes,
Yeah. One of the reasons that I write at a coffee shop is I actually write at this, I live in Athens, Georgia, and we have a lot of coffee shops here. I actually write at probably one of the more old-fashioned, full of all the old people, because their internet is actually enormously hard to get onto, so I never get on it. I deliberately stay off the internet when I'm writing, and it's because, a lot of people say, oh, Rachel, you're so disciplined. I'm not disciplined. I just know my weaknesses. And I know if I get on that internet, like the next 2 hours watching cat videos on Procrastinator, and nothing will get done. And it's worse, actually. It's worse when you're pro, because then you can waste time, and if it's vaguely writing related, it still counts as work.
Yeah,
like you can write a blog post or go answer all those emails.
I actually have started counting watching Doctor Who as writing time, because it was getting ideas and research and seeing how it's done. Yeah. Oh, I think we lost her. Okay, wait, let me try to get her back. Hold on.
Okay.
Technical error. I'm just glad I haven't blue screened.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, we lost you for a minute there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened. My phone has full bars, so who knows?
Oh, huh.
It's probably Skype.
Yeah, it might be our end.
It's probably, a shadow passed over the sun.
Yeah.
Who knows?
So I think we were talking about like distractions and you can count like blogging or anything like that, and
and you're watching Doctor Who thing. Don't try to write that off on your taxes.
Yeah.
They get very persnickety.
It's like I can count my Netflix subscription and make it tax deductible because it's work related. Yeah.
So if I made a religion around Doctor Who, is that tax deductible? Does that mean I'm an MPO? No. Oh.
Well, I mean, they got MPO status for that religion that's based around Star Wars, but using the Force. So why not?
I guess we have to get more people on board then.
Yeah, we can be the Whovians.
You just need a cult.
We all wear bow ties. Yeah.
Wait, what? You wear a bow tie? I wear a long brown trench coat.
Oh no, we're already being divisive. Oh no.
The schism has already occurred.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the non-believers must burn.
Yes.
So I'm kidding.
All right.
Yeah, but I would definitely say that one of the biggest problems I know for professional authors is still the focus issue. Is still getting the time and getting good writing time, especially for people newly turned pro, because, I mean, you quit your job, and all of a sudden you have all this free time, and you're like, I'm going to go write, and it's going to be amazing, and the next thing you know, you get distracted, you're reading books, and I had a big problem with that when I first quit my job. I was really bad. I got really distracted, and you have to learn how to kick your own ass in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It can be not a pleasant experience.
Yeah, I would think even with that like, deadline looming over and everything, it's still, like if you think back to like school, like I did most of my, research papers and things like that the night before, because
I got you so beat. I had timed myself so I knew it took me about 1 hour per page to write a paper.
Uh-huh.
So I would just count how many pages were required and wait until that many hours before the due date and start working.
Wow.
Like if I had a 5-page paper and like a 1 o'clock class, I would start writing that morning.
Wow.
So it was so dumb.
Yeah, it seems like that would be kind of hard to do if you're dealing with a novel length work.
Well, more than that though, like one of the things that as a writer can seem kind of squishy is your deadline. Because, I mean, I finish my manuscript, I edit it, and I turn it into my editor. And then she'll edit it and send me her changes. And I finish those, and I send them back to her. And then she'll approve them or ask for more changes, depending. Hopefully she approves them and loves them. Everything is great. Then she sends them into production. And the author's deadline, that first turning in of the book, is the very first deadline in a long chain of deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
And when you miss your deadline, you mess up everyone else all down the line. You mess up the copy editor, you mess up your cover artist, you mess up sales, you mess up everything. So it's a hard deadline in a lot of cases.
Sounds
but
like
most editors, trade secret, most editors lie. And they tell the author a deadline that's actually way earlier than the actual deadline because they know most authors miss it.
Oh, that's the same thing my mom used to do to me.
But I would never trust your editors doing that, and they will never tell you they're doing that.
Yeah, just it's best, I guess, just to assume. There's that old saying that like a writer is, how does it go? Like a writer is an island or something. Like, and it's a very solitary thing. But it sounds like it's definitely not. You got other people depending on you. Not to mention all the people that are your fans that are waiting for your book to come out.
Yes, and I've actually gotten some very irate emails that it's taking so long for the 4th and 5th books to come out. And I'm like, it's not my fault, because I turned in Spirits in like last year in July. And it's just because they decided to redo the covers and they decided to redo the books, which I am a huge fan of. I love the new covers. My old covers are terrible. But they weren't terrible, but compared to the new covers, I'm like, oh yeah, these are so much better.
I hate to agree with you, but yeah, I saw the covers of, because I heard your interview on Dead Robot Society. So I looked you up, and I looked at the first thing you see is the covers of the 3 books, and the first thing I thought was like, they look kind of like romance novels almost.
Yeah, and that's what everyone thought. Everyone thought they were paranormal romance. It's like, there's no romance, and I'm like, yeah, there's no romance. They're adventure fantasy.
Yeah, it's got to be paranormal because it's a close-up of somebody's face and it says spirit.
Exactly. and when we did when Orbit showed me the covers, I was on board. I was like, okay, these can work. Because especially considering that, I mean, it's a very character-driven series, and these character covers, and I really like that. And Joseph was supposed to be on the cover of the 4th book, and Benahime was going to be on the cover of the 5th book, so it was going to be a nice little set. But, yeah, there was just a lot of confusion. People were like, are these paranormal romance? Are they just straight-up romance?
Yeah.
What are these books? And yet that's never a question you want someone to ask about your book.
Exactly. Yeah, that's something I heard. We actually interviewed Michael J. Sullivan. I think he's with Orbit too.
Oh, wow. Yes, he is.
Yeah, and he I heard another interview he did where he was like, "Oh yeah, urban fantasy, the covers tend to be blue, so you want to avoid that if you're writing epic fantasy." And like he just went into this detail about like, how much the cover says about a book. And
the you can fall down the cover rabbit hole for a long time.
oh yeah.
It is a deep and scary place.
Yeah,
and there's so much research that goes into these things. Like they have focus groups and all that, and marketing data and all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because books are a commodity, just like everything else. They're trying to sell this book to you, and covers are one of the biggest points.
Mm-hmm. People judge those books by their covers.
They do.
That kind of destroys my dream of having that, the topless Fabio in front of my epic fantasy where there's no one even like that. I just wanted that cover. No reason.
You just
really
wanted topless Fabio.
Yeah, I mean, how many people can say I wrote a book that has a topless Fabio on the front?
Actually, quite a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah. Quite many. Actually, you just gave me an idea. I'm going to write an urban fantasy where someone summons up a Fabio spirit just to have an excuse for Fabio to be on my cover.
Wow.
Nice. You heard it here first, folks.
You heard it here first. This is what's going to happen.
So yeah. Anyway, I quite like the cover of the Legend of Eli Monpress, which is the big omnibus, which is the first 3 books.
Yes, for a very, very good price. Like you're getting especially if you buy it on Kindle or if you buy it on any of the ebook platforms, it's like $9 for 3 books. That's like $3 a book. It's amazing.
I know. Yeah, I saw that. I was like, well, I'd be stupid not to buy it.
Yeah, it's so. But you know what the weirdest thing is I keep a kind of obsessive eye on my Amazon numbers because I am an author, and that's what we do, obsess. And but my first 3 editions have been also selling very well since the new stuff came out, and I'm like, why? Why would the smaller, less attractive, more expensive versions be selling now? It just makes no sense to me. But
well, is that the physical paper?
Yeah,
copies?
The paperback.
Oh, there's probably maybe. Well, those tend to be a little cheaper if you get them like used or whatever on Amazon. Maybe it's people collecting.
It could be. I hope they are collecting.
Yeah.
If you are collecting, I will sign your books.
Nice.
Just let me know. I will sign them.
Nice. Yeah, it's too bad I got the Kindle version.
Everything. I'll sign your child.
Well, remember that.
I'll sign your dog. I'll sign anything. Bring it to me.
Nice. Oh, and we also have coming out. Well, this will air before. It should air before June 5th, and that's when Spirit's War should be coming out. Correct?
Oh yeah, and let me tell you what. If you like the Eli books at all, you are going to love Spirit War. I still think it may be one of the best books I ever wrote. Spirit War and Spirit's End are 2 books I am perhaps the most proud of. And it's just awesome. Things get so crazy. I just cannot wait for people to read those books.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to.
I think you're going to really like them.
Can't wait to pick it up. It's that's June 5th, and then there's still like I said the Legend of Eli Monpress, which is Spirit Thief, Spirit Rebellion, and Spirit War.
A Spirit Eater.
Spirit Eater. One. Oh, right. I got that mixed up. And then there's also Spirit's Oath, correct? A novella?
Spirit's the novella. That's how Miranda and Gin met. And I should have another Eli novella short story coming out, which talks about how Eli and Joseph ended up together.
Oh,
in
cool.
the bromance of the century.
Yeah.
But yeah, for real. But I haven't actually written that yet. But I have it planned.
Oh, good.
Just trying to get around to it. Just trying to get to it.
And then Spirit's End should be coming out later this year?
Yeah, that's coming out, and I think November 30th is the official date.
Wow, that's nice. So
but
2 books.
Date can change, so.
So 2 books in 1 year.
Yeah, well, it's always kind of been purged with Eli because we had 3 books in 2010, and then nothing in 2011, and now the Omnibus, Spirit War, and Spirit's End all in 2012. So feast and famine.
You're just trying to get them out before the Mayan apocalypse.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah.
Or if it's like, get them all out.
All right, great. Well, let me get your where people can find you on the web, and we'll call this an episode.
That's fine.
Okay, great. So it's rachelaaron.com?
RachelAaron.net.
Net. Okay.
Yeah.
I took a stab in the
Funny
dark.
story. RachelAaron.com is actually owned by a girl I met once,
Oh.
and she has like, and I actually don't know if she still has the site, but I was like, please give me your website because I'm about to be a published author. And she was like, no. And I was like, no. What do you mean no? She's like, no, it's my website. And she like literally, it was like one page of like, hello, my name is Rachel. Welcome to my website. That's all it was.
Oh, that sounds like it was done out of spite.
Please. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was done out of spite.
And then your blog, which is Pretentious Title.
Yep, and you can get that off my. You can get to that off my website,
Yes.
or I think actually just by typing Rachel Aaron into Google. I'm pretty sure like the number 2 link to my blog there.
Yes. Yeah. It's all kind of linked together there.
Mm-hmm.
And then if people want to follow you on Twitter, it's just at Rachel Aaron.
at Rachel_Aaron.
Rachel_Aaron. So do that. Read the blog. We're actually going to talk a little bit about the word count, and that's probably one of my favorite blog posts of all time from anybody. So coming to a close here, I know I also did, again, I kind of did most of the talking. Guillermo, do you have anything you wanted to add or ask?
Oh no, everything's pretty much covered. I'm actually I don't I'm so busy with everything that like, you know, I can either read or I can, you know, I can write. So I'm in the process of writing. This is all really going to help, and in fact, it's actually helping me a lot with what I'm writing. Actually, write well, not at this moment because we're talking.
You've been writing this whole time.
No, I haven't.
I'm writing a novel right.
No, but it's really actually it's helping out a lot.
Well, I hope I hope it all comes together. I hope everything works out. I always hope that everyone's books go well, because that's the thing, is the more good books there are, the better everyone is. Books are not like, books are not interchangeable objects. It's not like, if you write your book, there'll be less people to read my book. That's not how it works. People don't buy one book over another book. They buy 2 books. It may take them a little while, but they'll buy 2 books.
Oh, yeah.
There's never, the more good books exist, the more people read. And so I always say, please write your books. I hope they sell awesomely. I hope everyone reads them. I hope everyone reads all these books. But that's actually so funny. I get a lot of questions about, what do you think about Twilight? Like I say, I'm a writer, and they're like, with the condescending, what do you think about Twilight? Or, what do you think about Aragon? Eye roll. I haven't read either, but I love them, because those books got kids into bookstores.
Yeah, I felt the same way with when Kindles came out. I was like, at first I was like, oh, it's killing paper books, but now I'm like, oh, people are reading. I don't really care.
Yeah. Also, I have a Kindle. The number of books I have purchased has like quintupled, and I buy a lot of books, and it is scary ridiculous. My husband had to put a budget on the Kindle because I was like corrupting us, because it's so easy. It's one click and you buy.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
It's like crack. Oh.
It is.
Yeah,
well, the worst is I get to take the series and I buy the next one at like 3 a.m.
Oh yeah,
right.
That's what I did with Michael Sullivan's stuff. I just back to back. I was like, it's right here. Click and
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Dresden Files for me. It was like, I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
Yeah, that's great.
As authors, that's music to our ears. I love when people write me and say, I bought your book at 2 a.m. And I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I'll have to. Well, I'll do that then when June. Wait, let me check again. June 5th.
Mm-hmm.
When the Spirit War comes out.
Friday.
I will send you an email.
Excellent.
Telling you I bought it at 3 a.m. with shaking fingers, like, oh, must continue.
I hope so. I actually have a big chunk. If for anyone who's already read my first 3 books, I have a big chunk of the Spirit War up on my website.
Oh, nice.
Just, go to RachelAaron.net and click on books. In the Spirit War section, there's a big link to go read the first, I think it's like 3 chapters. So it's a big chunk. It's like a hefty chunk of the novel.
Nice. All right. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for taking the time out of your writing to talk to us.
Well, thank you so much for selecting me to be on your podcast. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks a lot.
The pleasure was all ours. And may I say, I love the title of your blog. Just throwing that out there.
That's actually been the title of my blog since I first made a blog in college, because I couldn't ever think of a title. So I was like, well, pretentious. There you go.
All right. Well, again, thanks, and hopefully we can get some people to pick up Spirit War when it comes out.
That would be awesome. Well, thank y'all so much.